it's very important for us as a company to make sure that we still have our eyes and ears open on what's going on with people around the organisation. We recognise that there will be dips, that there'll be good days, there'll be tougher days, but we're actually trying to focus on a variety of different stimuli to make sure that people do feel connected and engaged. How do I organise my desk when I work from home? What exercises can I do at home to help me keep fluid during the course of the day? If I'm concerned about my mental health, what are some of the things I either look at from a resource perspective, or what support can the company give me to enable me to do that? Keep it uppermost in people's mind is that we as a company are here to support you, and here's a range of tools and approaches to enable you to do that.
Hello everyone, this is Raluca with Nestor. On Nestor podcast today, it's such a pleasure to have Peter Walmsley. He's the Chief People Officer at GSN Games. And we will be chatting about employee engagement, which is a hot topic today, and how we can maintain employee engagement in a work from home environment. So Peter, thank you so much for joining us today and appreciate your time.
Oh, absolutely. It's a pleasure, Raluca. And, this is a very important subject. So I'm glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Amazing. Thanks so much for that. We know that you have so much experience in the human resources space, and you've been working with hundreds of employees. And we would love to also learn more about your story and your journey so far.
Yeah, I guess my career started many moons ago. I was in learning and development roles. So for many years, focused on design delivery of training and development programs, soft skills, management development, leadership development. And I did that for a number of years before I moved more into a human resources role, particularly at the time when I was working for Fidelity in London and helped them restructure the company at a particular moment, around about the time of the internet boom and crash back in early 2000. Since then, I've had a variety of roles. I am very fortunate with Fidelity to move to Paris and work with one of the Fidelity companies, HR Access, and then to Madrid in Spain. And then I left Fidelity to work for Electronic Arts from the video games company, moved to Geneva in Switzerland and worked with them for 3 or 4 years before moving to San Francisco with Electronic Arts, which is how I've come to arrive here in the US. And then 4 years ago, I was approached by GSN Games to come and join them. And I've been based here in Boston all that time of those 4 years, really helping the company restructure, thinking through some of the issues around culture, employee development as well, and employee engagement. Yes, I had an interesting journey for sure, and worked for some very good companies along the way that have given me those opportunities to take on these kind of roles.
Thanks so much for sharing that with us. It's so interesting to learn more about your story. Given the current pandemic situation, it seems that at least for a while, remote work is the new norm. And most of the companies have been forced to transition from an in-office space towards a fully remote work environment, and actually people working from home. Yeah. In your perspective, what is the biggest impact on employee engagement?
Well, it's interesting. And first of all, I'd say the transition to working from home was actually surprisingly seamless. You know, I think for all of us now, technology is such a key part of our lives that the ability to work from home from a technology perspective is very smooth and very easy to do. I think the challenge that any organization has is, we've got a global pandemic, and that, depending on where you are in the world, creates all kinds of tensions for you from a family perspective and things that we have to worry about in our locale. Coupled with that, then, the key question that I think helps engagement is the company doing well? Is the company surviving? And we are very fortunate within the games industry that with all the additional time people have on their hands, people have been playing games, have been playing our social and casino games. And as a result of that, the company is doing extremely well. And I think whenever a company is doing well, that has a positive impact on engagement. I think the third thing as well that we are finding is that, here we are, we're in the 8th week now of shutdown, that I think people go through a cycle of sometimes being highly engaged, and then depending on what's going on in their lives can have a dip in energy, maybe not feeling as positive as they were. So it's very important for us as a company to make sure that we still have our eyes and ears open on what's going on with people around the organization. Yeah, and that's something that's happening in every location, that we recognize that there will be dips, that there'll be good days, there'll be tougher days, but we're actually trying to focus on a variety of different stimuli to make sure that people do feel connected and engaged.
Yes. And how this could affect also employee performance, even though it's individual performance or when working in teams, or actually organizational wide when we are working from different places and having hundreds of employees. What is happening?
Well, for us, again, back to the point I was making, within the games industry, the business is doing extremely well. More people are having more discretionary time, and therefore are playing games more. So I think, from that perspective, from commercial perspective, the company is doing well. I think that the challenge that we have of productivity has also increased, I would say. And part of that is, in all our locations, people are not commuting. So they're saving time. They may be able to construct their day in a different way. And then you do find that because they are a little bit captive, i.e. they're not going to go anywhere, there's not the usual distractions that we all have, then probably people are working a little bit more than they would do, without the pandemic going on. And, so yeah, for us, productivity is good. But we've got a nice balance there of making sure that we don't burn people out,
right,
as well. So it's a delicate balance between the two, but so far it's going well.
Amazing. It's so nice to hear that. For those companies that actually make this first transition and maybe they weren't so prepared in order to do that, what would be, in your perspective, some recommended actions or what they should start doing in order to actually maintain this employee engagement at least the same level? Maybe sometimes increase it, but at least maintaining it.
Well, one of the things that we have done, if we start at the CEO level, the CEO writes a letter to employees each week, an email at the start of the week, really thanking them in part for their resilience and their hard work, but also being very open and honest about how the company is performing. And given that there is naturally a lot of concern about employment around the world, then I think it's a great thing from the CEO to do, to actually communicate to people. I then at the end of the week write an email to all employees, and sometimes that might focus on a theme of the week, like how to remain positive, how to structure your day. And what we've done is built up a series of resources globally that are videos, articles, links to books, etc., that people can look at and focus on. Well, how do I organize my desk when I work from home? Or what exercises can I do at home to help me keep fluid during the course of the day? Or how can I structure my day? Or if I'm concerned about my mental health for any reason, what are some of the things I can either look at from a resource perspective, or what support can the company give me to enable me to do that? And I think what we've tried to do is have a range of approaches and solutions that people can tap into that may work for them as an individual in one location versus another, but try and actually keep it uppermost in people's mind is that, we as a company are here to support you, and here's a range of tools and approaches to enable you to do that. And then we're making sure from a management perspective and also from an HR perspective that we're staying connected with people at all levels as well, talking to them regularly, find out how they're getting on, what are some of the challenges, how can we address some of those challenges. An example would be, we realized for some people who are working from home, they may not have good desk space and they're getting chronic backache. So we have created a situation where we are enabling people to buy a raised desk so that they can raise their desk and they can stand up, and that will have positive benefits for them, but also, for everyone, that they know that the company is prepared to help them and support them.
This is so amazing. So you've been focusing so much on the individual, and from all points of view, that this individual should be, first of all, healthy, and the second time also to remain productive. And this
Absolutely
helps increase this motivation a lot, because we know that also maintaining our productivity up actually maintains the business operation running and the business success. But when it comes to make your people feel that sense of belonging, being part of the same team, what actually you could do in order to increase this, like connecting more at the team level, or like increasing the number of meetings? What are some ways of doing that?
Well, actually, it'd be really nice to actually decrease the number of meetings, because I
Okay.
think we probably have too many. But there are some things that we do. So a couple of examples would be, there have been social events later on in the week that we've got everyone together on a Zoom call, just to have some downtime, some social time with everyone. And I think that's a very nice way. In other areas, what we've done is we've acknowledged that people have complicated lives at the moment, or more complicated lives, whether they have children or loved ones that they've got to look after, or the house. So we've actually enabled people to take some time out. Maybe we say on a Wednesday, that's it, no meetings today, or you don't have to work today. Go and concentrate on your private life and re-energize. So I think those kind of actions, both in terms of having fun activities, we've had quizzes, we've had happy hours, those kind of things, are actually just helping people stay connected. We've got a couple of Slack channels where people are posting pictures of their pets, or we've got a song for the day that's being posted on our Slack channel. So it's a variety of different things that we are doing that are enabling people to feel that they are part of something, in addition to the formal lines of communication. And we're encouraging our managers to check in with their people on a regular basis.
That's amazing. Is anyone that takes care of all these procedures, or is mostly related to each team and its ways of doing things?
A lot of it's at the location stroke team level. So it's two-dimensional, I would say. It's location, and it's also function from the general manager of a studio. But we have central resources that we're looking to help. But then you've got the overlay of me from an HR perspective, or the CEO as well, just trying to make sure across all parts of the business that we are keeping our eyes and ears open, and making sure that when we say that we care about the health and safety of our employees first, that we're actually doing that, and then B, making sure that we can keep them focused and engaged throughout this. Acknowledging that, there'll be good days and bad days for all of us throughout this.
Of course. And you were mentioning about employee engagement and maintaining this. How do you know that actually you maintain this? Is there any way of measure this? Like focusing on some drivers or some key aspects that you want as data, and you want to also, let's say, base your decisions on.
Yeah. So one of the things that we did do a couple of weeks ago, we did a short 10-question survey across the organization, really focusing on the extent to which we were providing the right kind of communication for people, that people were hearing from their line managers, and they were getting consistent messages between their manager and the company, and that they felt supported in their day-to-day work from the company, and that we were providing the tools, communication, and anything else. And we also gave people an opportunity to say, what else do you need? What other help do you need? So we were able to determine that by location, by function, just how engaged people were, or how appreciative or how valued they felt, given that the company was doing its utmost to look out for them. So we've got a very clear sense of engagement by location on that. And what it enabled us to do, as ever, there's learning for us. And based on that learning, we were able to make some adjustments in terms of the way we're providing things to people, or providing more tools to enable them to work effectively from home. So, that was a very good way of just checking the pulse and making sure that we were doing the right things for people. And if there was learning, what was that learning, and how could we address it going forward, which we're starting to do.
How often do you usually run this survey?
We haven't really done this for a while. We've done it in some locations, but I would say this is the first time we've done it across the company like this. But it was very relevant to the set of circumstances that we all find ourselves in. So it felt it was a good time, sort of 5-6 weeks in, just to really check how people are, what's working, what's not working, and how we can help people through the next phase. And, we'll ask ourselves those questions probably in a few weeks' time, depending on what happens in the next phase of the pandemic, and keep an eye on how people are feeling and the level of engagement.
And how do you deal with uncertainty in order to communicate or actually maintain people at the same level of engagement with their work, and what will come next?
Well, I think we've tried to be honest with people again, to say, look, we don't know what's coming next. There is no playbook for how we address this next phase. But what we have said, the core principle for us is the health and safety of our employees, and that we are not going to rush into any decisions to head back to work. We will take a considered view by location, and most likely it will be different. So we've tried to continually reassure people that we are thinking about it, we're talking about it, we're not making any decisions yet, we're looking to see what's going to happen in each location. And there are a number of dependencies that we have to factor in before we feel it's safe enough in any of our locations, irrespective of what a government might say or a state might say. We've got to feel that from a company perspective, it's comfortable for people to go back to an office in some way, shape or form.
What about the development part of your people? Is this something that people are worried about, or is just about being safe and actually being productive during these times? And they put on the second place the how I will develop starting from this point.
I think logically, given the first few weeks, it was more a question of, well, how do I adjust? How do we all adjust, and how do we all make sense of our new way of working? What we have seen in a couple of locations just recently, we've given access to some learning and development material for people, so that if people, during this time when they have probably more downtime, they've got an opportunity to look at a variety of different learning and development options that's going to continue helping them through this process on that. So I think we're now in that phase of looking to see what else we can do, what other learning and development opportunities we can provide for people, so that we don't lose sight of that important part of people's development. But again, it's about a balance. The first phase definitely was very much focusing on adjusting, getting used to working from home and dealing with all of the aspects that go alongside the pandemic. Now we've, based on some of the feedback and the views we've had, we've been able to add some learning and development opportunities for people. And so far it's working out well. And very definitely the whole of the HR world has got to rethink what we do and how we provide it, and think through some of the opportunities to provide access to L&D outside of the normal channels of getting everyone in a room. Yeah.
This is amazing. Thanks for sharing that with us. I was wondering to touch on what will come next and the future of work. What, in your perspective, would be something that will change now and will remain like so in the future as well, even though it's only the employee engagement part, maybe measuring, maybe treating people somehow, and organizational development overall?
Yeah. So it is a very good question. I think what's going to change more than anything is just the look and feel of offices. If you think about it, I don't see for quite some time any office that we have having full capacity of people operating in it. So I do genuinely believe that flexible working from home, maybe working from home 1 or 2 days a week, or maybe going to the office 1-2 days a week on a rotational basis, will very much become the norm. And maybe there's less requirement for office space set out in the traditional way that it's always been set out. So maybe, you know, it's you lose, I've often been saying to people recently that you're going to lose the relationship with your desk. You know, I've had my desk for many years in various different companies, and I'm afraid it's time to divorce my desk and say I no longer have a relationship with you. You know, I may drop into an office for 1 or 2 days a week, and there'll be an area maybe that I can drop into and interact with the people I need to. But I certainly see more flexibility, more people working from home, very clear guidelines about how and when people come into the offices for a period of time, and maybe less need for the same real estate resource going forward.
Awesome insights. Thank you so much, Peter, for all the insights that you shared with us. Just to recap for the audience, we talked about employee engagement and how we maintain it in a work from home situation. We talked with Peter Walmsley. He's the Chief People Officer at GSN Games. So Peter, thanks so much again for your time, and we are looking forward to chat again in the future.
Great. Thank you very much, Raluca, and I really enjoyed having the chance to talk to you today. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.